From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the official show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Excuse me there, folks. Hello, everyone. I'm the official team psychiatrist of the New York Jets, also known as Jaime Hixson. Now, we're going to be waiting for Hector Bosa to call into the show right now because there's a lot of business to discuss. And first and foremost is the Sam Darnold trade. In case you missed it, the Jets wound up trading Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for a couple of draft picks. Just to give you an idea what the Jets' thinking is, I understand that the Jets have 21 draft picks that they've acquired or have of their own volition for this year and next year. 21 draft picks for this year and next year. 7 of those draft picks are for rounds 1 and 2 alone. So this leads me to believe that the Jets are going to be trying to build a contender from within as opposed to getting a free agent or making another trade. As far as Sam Darnold is concerned, it's not like he forgot to play quarterback after he was drafted. I mean, he had his moments. He got a big win against Pittsburgh at home. Also helped the Jets snap their 12 or 13 game losing streak last year with that big win against the Rams to give them their first win of the year. I don't know about you. I mean, I know most guys want to see their teams lose so they could get that first overall pick, but just because you get the first overall pick doesn't mean that this guy is going to turn into a future Hall of Famer. The Jaguars have that pick, and in all likelihood, they're going to take Trevor Lawrence of Clemson. It doesn't mean that there's any possibility of him turning into a superstar. Who knows? The guy could be a bust for all I know. Not only that, but there haven't been that many great quarterbacks to come out of Clemson in that school's history. I mean, there have been guys ranging from Charlie Whitehurst to Taj Boyd. Most recently, there was Deshaun Watson, who's done reasonably well for himself. But at the same time, Clemson hasn't really produced a lot of great quarterbacks. They produced some great running backs and some really good receivers as well, and also some really good defenders as well. But not much on the quarterback front. Let's see if Trevor Lawrence can break that trend and become the next great star in the NFL. Not only that, but you look at this trade, Sam Darnold is now going to be working with guys like Christian McCaffrey, who's an outstanding all-purpose back, and also a familiar face, Robbie Anderson. So when you think about it, I think Carolina wound up getting the better end of the deal. Not only do they now have Darnold, they still have Teddy Bridgewater. So now they have a two-headed quarterback combo that could probably complement each other when it gets right down to it. As for the Jets, you love the fact that they get all of these draft picks. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Jets wound up getting a second-round pick and a sixth-round pick in the next couple of years. It's gotten really clear that the Jets are now building from within. I mean, when you look at the history of all the free agents that they've signed, they've had their hits, Curtis Martin, and they've also had their misses. Take your pick. So let's see what the Jets can do with all of these draft picks. If I'm them, I keep all of these picks and try and draft my way to respectability. You look at what the New England Patriots did, getting so many draft picks in the past to help them win the 6 titles that they have. It just goes to show you that if you're smart and you know your football, you can really build yourself a contender. Now, as far as the Giants are concerned, I saw in one of my alerts through my Bleacher Report app. Not only is Saquon Barkley really working hard, he's working his butt off, to be honest with you, trying to get back from major reconstructive knee surgery, but also Daniel Jones took it upon himself to call for some workouts to be done in the state of Arizona. He's had offensive linemen, he's had receivers, and he's had the backup running backs take part in these workouts just so they could try and get ready for the later camps that take place this year. This goes to show you that Daniel Jones is now the quarterback of the future for the Giants. I mean, granted, things have not gone so great for them in the 2 years that he's been at the helm. But last year, believe it or not, Jones made a lot of great strides. He wound up getting a 4-game winning streak. And then after that, he wound up coming away with a big win against the Cowboys to snap a 3-game losing streak and end the year. So when you get right down to it, Jones is the man that the Giants are going to be calling on to be their quarterback. Now, as far as other stuff going on in the NFL, let's see exactly what's going on here. Yep. Right now, I'm looking at my NFL app, and they're talking about the Sam Darnold trade in depth. They're giving his numbers, and to be quite honest with you folks, his numbers were really paltry. 72.7 passer rating last year, 59.8% of his passes completed. If you want to succeed in this game, you've got to be at least a 65% passer. And he was dead last among 35 qualified quarterbacks. This just goes to show you that it was really the people that he was working with, in addition to not being able to see the field well, which pretty much led to his ouster from New York. And I see that the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, tweeted a best wishes message over to him. Now, as far as what else is going on around in the NFL, unfortunately, there was a very scary situation that wound up taking place in Minnesota. Let's see if I can check the app again. Unfortunately, there was a situation that took place in Minnesota where the Vikings starting cornerback, Jeff Gladney, wound up being arrested on third-degree felony family violence assault charges. He turned himself in, which is the first big step, and he wound up posting $10,000 bond. There's been a lot of talk about whether there's any connection between football and domestic violence. I think we're having a little problem with the audio, Ken, or with the phone. All right. Well, we're still waiting on Hector to try and check us out, to try and talk to us about what's been going on. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about whether there's been a connection between domestic violence and the sport of football. When you think about it, I think it's kind of coincidental that there's been so many cases of domestic violence as it pertains to NFL players. Of course, the most famous case was Ray Rice, who not only punched out the woman who became his wife, but wound up being banned from the NFL altogether. Yet somehow there are still players out there who seem to think that they can forget, who seem to forget that. And I just got a text message from Hector. He said he's trying to call in, so we'll await that any moment. Anyway, these guys seem to forget that that there's a price to be paid for doing something stupid like that. Now, as far as what else is going on in the NFL, I see the Giants, like we mentioned before, the Giants have done pretty well for themselves in free agency. They've gotten a whole bunch of players. Hopefully, these guys can help them out and make them a playoff team. And the boss himself, John Mara, has already made it clear that he wants to see some results, because if not, there might be changes. So, in the meantime, we're still waiting for Hector to call in right now. So, in the meantime, let's talk about what's been going on in okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, we have a little bit of a problem with the phone line. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on with the opening weekend of Major League Baseball. And already the Yankee fans are crying that the sky is falling. Let me tell you, this is a 162 game season. I hardly think that we should worry about Aaron Judge going 1 out of his first 12 at the plate this season. And I hardly think that we should worry about Mike Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, going 0 out of his first 8 at the plate. Toronto's got a really good team. I mean, they were a playoff team last year, and they're looking no further than to probably advance to the next level of the Major League playoffs. I mean, don't forget, they wound up signing George Springer to that big contract. Plus, they've got those really good stud youngsters: Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero, who hit a home run yesterday. These kids are going to have the chance to be the future superstars of the Blue Jays lineup. And don't forget, there was some really good bright sides to the weekend. Number one, Michael King pitched 6 shutout innings for them yesterday. Number two, the bullpen as a whole has done very, very well for themselves. And number three, starting pitching, for the most part, has been pretty decent so far. Tonight, the Yankees are playing the Orioles, and Jordan Montgomery is starting, and he's already looked pretty good himself to start this game. Now, as far as the Mets are concerned, unfortunately, their entire series with Washington had to be postponed because of several Nationals players testing positive for COVID. So they're going to obviously make the games up later on in the year. Right now, the Mets are playing against the Philadelphia Phillies. For the record, the Yankees and Orioles are scoreless in the third inning, while the Mets are going to the bottom of the first against the Phillies, and there's no score in that game either. Of course, the big story with the Mets was Francisco Lindor getting that big, fat contract of $341 million most recently. Believe it or not, he's not the last Met to get himself a contract extension. There's still Noah Syndergaard. There's still Michael Conforto left over. I just wonder what the Mets' thinking is going to be if they have to come down to talking turkey with these guys. I mean, Noah Syndergaard is just as important. And I got another text message from Hector. Kenny, is it okay if he just calls my phone? Okay, we're gonna try our landline one more time. Sorry about that, folks. Unfortunately, we've had major technical difficulties with the telephone. Anyway, we were talking about the Mets earlier. I really wonder what the Mets' thinking is going to be when it comes to And for the record, Kenny, Hector's been trying to get through, and he still cannot find any luck. He said he's been trying to call. I have no idea. Sorry about that, folks. Unfortunately, it seems like the Gremlins are. It seems like the Gremlins are rearing their ugly heads, trying to disrupt things. In the meantime, we're gonna see if we can. In the meantime, we're going to see if we can get through these last 40 minutes or so unscathed. We've been talking about what the Mets need to do. If anything, in a perfect world, the Mets would sign both of those guys and be done with it. But if you were to ask yourself as a Mets fan, what's more important, a power-hitting outfielder or a starting pitcher? You, in all likelihood, would take the starting pitcher. And I just got the signal from Kenny. We're going to cross our fingers with this one. Are you there, Hector? Hector, are you there? Hector, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me, man?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me? Hector, can you hear us? Well, we can hear you, but the question is, can you hear us? Hector, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. So go right ahead.
Explain to me what you were talking about, because I have been a little bit occupied.
You mean occupied?
That one too.
All right. I've been basically talking about the Yankees and the Mets, specifically the Mets signing Francisco Lindor, but basically having to decide about contract talks with Michael Conforto or Noah Syndergaard.
Well, if they gave this guy a 10-year contract, because that's what he wanted, right?
Yeah, he wanted at least 10 years.
And I don't know, I understand from the baseball point of view that you want 10 years because you want to have security. But then, the managers, or should I say the owners, don't want to pay for 10 years because you don't know if you're going to be good for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about these long contracts?
I don't like them, to be quite honest with you, because a lot of these guys wind up breaking down at some point in their career, and they become less productive as players.
But do you understand why the players want to do it, though? Because, again, they're trying to do best what's for them, and the GM or the owner's trying to do the best what's best for the team. And who was the first 10-year contract? Dave Winfield?
Yeah, I think it was Dave Winfield.
And ever since then, now I don't know how the money situation goes, where if they get paid less or they get paid more because they're trying to sign some other guys, such as Noel Syndergaard, such as the other guy that you mentioned,
Michael Conforto.
Now, you would figure that they would try to sign them first because they've been on the team longer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another one. Do you sign your vets first, or do you sign your new players first, depending upon the status of who they are?
Mm-hmm.
So you're GM. You are the owner. Who do you sign first?
Well, I'm a big proponent of pitching, so I would take my chances with Noah Syndergaard first.
But you gave up so much to get the shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. If you don't try to get, I understand what you're saying, because you would get the pitchers first, and they would be much easier to deal with.
Right.
But then you figure, because they know the Met system, they've been in there, and a lot of times your players actually want to stay on your team.
Right.
That's why they get signed second or third most of the time. But you have this guy that you gave up so many pieces for. Imagine if he walks away.
Yeah.
But then you may lose the other two guys because you're not treating them fair because they think that they should be taken care of first. It's a really bad seesaw situation.
Yeah.
But all in all, you know, so did he get his 10-year contract?
Yep, he got his 10-year contract, and it's worth $341 million.
Is he the highest paid baseball player now?
On the Mets, he is. I'm not sure about in the major leagues, though. I think that could go to Bryce Harper.
What do you think them signing Conforto and Syndergaard?
Well, signing Syndergaard, see, that might be a bit of a tricky thing because Syndergaard has been hampered by injuries a lot. Whereas Conforto, he's been a more consistent hitter. So even though Syndergaard has been a medical liability, I would still try to give him a more than fair deal because you can't teach throwing 100 miles an hour.
That's true. You can't teach it. The only thing you can teach is where to put the damn thing because a lot of times you can have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and still plant it right in the middle and where it could be hit very quickly if you can time it properly.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, the biggest Met splash is Lindor.
Yeah.
And they covered most of their holes.
You think so?
Say that?
You think so?
I said they covered most of their holes for the simple fact that, you know, they're not, everybody's been signed up.
Mm-hmm.
And until the middle of the season where, let's say they're in the route to make the playoffs or they're either going to sell or buy in the middle of the season because they're going to need more players. And there's going to be teams out there that want to dump salary.
If you ask the Mets' new boss, Mr. Cohen, he'll tell you that the Mets will make the playoffs this year. He thinks he believes the Mets will make the playoffs this year.
They have a good team.
They definitely have a good team. I mean, the pitching staff is really solid.
1 through 5, they're solid.
I still worry about them defensively, though, especially at first and at second and at third.
But it's not even so much defensively now. It's about hitting. And the way the game has changed a little. Because the game has changed. Not by much, but enough to nudge it in the wrong direction, I think.
Still.
Do you think that they should have kept the DH on there? The universal DH?
Well, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt them. I mean, when you think about it, you get somebody else to be the first baseman because Peter Alonso was rather shaky at first. Make Peter Alonso the designated hitter. Get somebody else to play first base.
But it was funny because some of them said, oh, we're not prepared for DH. What do you mean you're not prepared for DH? You just got to get a good hitter that can come off the bench. Now, it's hard to come off the bench and flat out hit because you're waiting on the bench to hit. But if you're a good hitter, you're going to hit. You're going to hit whether you come off the bench, out of bed, for breakfast, whatever the situation is, you're going to hit.
Okay, first of all, how could they say that they're not ready for a designated hitter to be used?
Oh, that's
especially
simple.
Considering that the DH has been used since 1972.
I can tell you because if you notice, most teams will say, we're not built for DH. We're built for playing our game without the DH.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying. We're built since and it's ridiculous in some cases. And then you got the mighty fans out there who say, "Oh, well, the game is changing, and we rather see small ball. We rather see intelligent moves, such as you get rid of one play, you put this other play in. It's like a chess game if you have no DH."
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going, okay, but what's more exciting? Not hitting the ball or hitting? Most of the time, when you had McGuire and I forgot the other guy's name, or was it Bonds? When they had the home run championship.
McGuire and Sosa, you mean?
Yeah, Sosa and him. They were very intriguing because it's about hitting, unless it's close to a no-hitter, and then you become enamored by the fact that the guy's getting a no-hitter. But most of the time, people want to see hitting. But what I didn't understand, and I still don't, is that you have teams out there, because and I'm telling you, I've heard this, and I can't understand it, is we're not built for this. We're not built for this. And I'm going, but you professionals, even when I played ball and I sat on for a while, at least I was able to hit the damn ball. But maybe I was younger. Who knows? I mean, it's I don't understand the mentality behind it. Yeah. I don't understand the mentality behind it where they say we're not built for this. If you know the majority of the time that the pitcher is going to either hit the ball, bunt the ball, or try to get more of a walk than anything. And then they do the switch because they don't want the pitcher to get hurt, so they'll put in a runner, a pinch runner for the pitcher.
Yeah.
And then here's where the some of the purists will go, you see, that's brilliant. That's strategy. Mm-hmm. I think strategy doesn't exist anymore because people want to see hitting. People don't want to be bored anymore. That's why you have TikTok and Likey and all them other ones, because our attention spans are only for 3 seconds. 3 minutes or whatever, and then that's it. Yep. But you never heard that before?
What, that they're not built for a DH?
Yeah.
Well, not in so many words. I mean, somehow they've been resistant to the DH for a long time. Since 1972, to be honest with you, they've been resistant to the DH.
I know that, but
there's one thing. There's just something about a pitcher at the plate with a bat. I mean, there are some pitchers who can really hit, and they can hit for power.
But they're not Babe Ruth.
Then they don't have to be Babe Ruth. All they got to do is put bat on the ball and send it somewhere in the outfield.
Let me ask you something. 2 years ago, who's the highest ERA pitcher? Who had the highest batting average as a pitcher?
The highest batting average as a pitcher?
Yeah. Now, mind you, it's every five games or every 4 games, and you
Let me
get
look
to
that
hit
up.
at least what, 4 times? The average is between 3 and 4 times. I don't understand. Because you take the highest, you take the pitcher that has the best batting average, and I'll tell you, it's not. I mean, like I said, for the purists out there, I get it. They just want the game to be the way the game used to be. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But for those people that they're trying to generate ball players, or they're trying to get the game to be America's game again, the only way you're going to do that is if they start hitting the ball. And I don't know if there's any way of changing the game to make it faster, because they've tried, and there's no way.
Oh. For the record, to answer your question, the highest batting average by a pitcher 2 years ago was Giovanni Gallardo. He had a 229 average. And Zach Greinke also had a 229 batting average.
And look at it, and that's the highest.
And that's the highest.
And people would rather see pitchers hitting. I don't get it.
It is what it is.
Again, but I don't get it. But how many baseball purists are out there anymore? I think they've died out. They're dying like a dying breed.
Well, speaking of baseball, I just got an alert. Aaron Judge just homered to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and the Yankees, how are they doing?
1-2 to start the season.
Yeah, I could see that, because they normally slow anyway.
Yeah.
They're normally slow. They crank it up in the middle of June, and then they mess it up a lot of times during the playoffs, because that's when everybody starts to get hurt or they're not hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. Since you're saying that the Mets have a problem with their team, what about the Yankees? Do you think they've covered everything?
Well, Yankee fans would hope so, but to be quite honest with you, I still think that there's a bit of an issue with the Yankees. I think that, number one, they have problems with injuries. Number two, they have very little quickness on the base paths whatsoever. The fastest guy that they have is Brett Gardner, and he doesn't even play that often. Number three, I still think that they need an everyday left fielder. Number four, I still think that they need a fourth and fifth starter. Sorry, but right now, Jordan Montgomery isn't really doing it for me.
Yeah. And
I mean, he's pitching well right now. He's gone 4 shutout innings, but let's see what he could do for a full season.
It's tough because you're playing so many games.
Yeah.
You know, but Giancarlo Stanton, who won't start as an everyday player, they're trying to hold him back because he gets hurt a lot.
Yep.
And so does Judge, and so does Sanchez, the big 3 hitters. Now, they're pretty solid defensively, and they're solid offensively. But it's as you say, time will tell.
Yeah.
How are they going to hold up? Because all teams break down in some shape or form. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't seen another Anthony Young in a very long time.
Oh, brother. And I would not want to see another Anthony Young.
And I felt bad for him because he actually pitched really good. It's just that they blew it for him left and right. Now, explain to the new people out there who Anthony Young was.
Anthony Young was a pitcher drafted by the Mets who has the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball history. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has a 27-game losing streak.
And the baddest luck in the world, too, because some of those games he could have won. He pitched brilliantly until the ball went over the guy's head, the ball popped out of the guy's glove. Come on, I've seen those damn games.
Yep. 27-game losing streak is what he had.
And that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
He pitched brilliantly. He really did. He pitched brilliantly.
Yeah. He was a starter in he actually began as a starting pitcher, and then he was converted to the bullpen. And it was mostly in the bullpen where he had a lot of his problems.
Well, again, when he started as a starter, that was another one where, again, he could have won a lot of games. He was a really damn good pitcher. I'm just telling you that oh man, I don't know how you can just lose and not lose your mind.
Well, somehow he was able to keep his composure.
Exactly. But the mighty Knicks are playing against the gargantuan Nets.
Yep.
The king of New York, which are the Knicks still, I think. And the crown jewel is the Brooklyn Nets.
Actually, the kings of New York are the Yankees.
Well, in basketball, the Knicks would have the worst losing streak in the world and still sell out. Brooklyn Nets, they have an all-star team.
Yet that all-star team lost to the Bulls yesterday.
You know, was everybody playing?
No.
Exactly. 2, they're not going to win every game. Even the ones that they should win, they're not going to win.
Well,
but
I see that there's 10-16 left in the first half, and the Knicks lead the Nets 37-33.
I have here 41-33 with 9 minutes in the second quarter.
41-33, 9 minutes. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. And the Knicks are winning. Look at that. The mighty Knicks will continue on.
That's not a guarantee.
Yeah, because they're every year of every season of every century, except for the 70s, why do they always blow it in the fourth quarter? What is it about the fourth quarter that they lose a 20-point game? What is it about it?
Well, it's simple. They just don't execute.
Oh, man. Now, did they do the right thing by not going after a player? Or should they have gone after a player and trade their assets?
Technically, they went after a player. They went after Terrence Ferguson. They wound up getting him in that 3-way trade.
And how is he doing so far?
He has not even been heard from.
They probably let him go. Because they still have one spot I know they got Noel Beal.
You mean Nerlens Noel?
Yeah, they got him, and for a 10-day contract, because they need another body because they couldn't get the guy from Cleveland Cavaliers.
You're probably talking about Andre Drummond.
Yeah, who went to the Lakers.
Yep.
Now, you see, can you blame him not going to the Lakers? They're set up to win.
Of course.
The Nets are set up to win. Who would have ever thought in our lifetime that you can say that the Nets are set up to win?
Definitely not me.
Because I remember going to the Continental Arena, and when they played the Knicks, it seems as if he was in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, the place is 2/3 Knicks fans.
But now that they're in Brooklyn, I don't think it's the same way anymore. I think they've done a really good job over there. But how long can these guys hold out?
We're going to have to wait and see.
You know? And also, the Knicks are doing an excellent job with. Now I think they're just waiting for next year for the draft choice, who they get in the NBA draft choice, and see which players are going to want to go and play with them.
Yep, and for the first time in a while, it's going to be a low draft pick, a lower round draft pick, which means it's going to be somewhere in the 20s or so.
I'm surprised. Well, I mean, for the first, 3 years or 4 years, they were top 9 or top 10.
They were always a top 10 pick.
And now, because of their draft choices and all that, because you know who's got the most draft choices?
Probably
Oklahoma.
What's that?
Oklahoma, I think.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
37.
37 draft picks. And, they're still being competitive. Even though they're under 500, they're still being competitive this season. That's a testament to the job that their general manager, Sam Presti, has done, putting together the team that he has.
And the players must want to play for him, because nobody wants to lose every game. But at least you're giving it your all.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do with so many draft picks?
You either barter them for a trade, or you use them.
That's true, but you only got what? How many in the bench? 12?
15.
15. And you have 37 draft choices. Damn. And it's, I think, within the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to try to make some type of trade and so on. They're not going to take all. No. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, it's great to have them. But, everybody is expecting Lonzo Ball to come to the New York Knicks because his father wants him to play for the New York Knicks.
His father has no idea.
I mean, I can say this much. If you want to play for the Knicks, you got to forget that you got a stupid owner.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, as we talked about before, it's the owner that's pushing these people away from not wanting to play for that team. So they're going to have they can't rely on people wanting to play for them. They're going to have to rely on trades.
Yeah.
That way they can lock them down for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Tops.
Well, I just got another alert. James Harden has hamstring tightness. He's now out for the rest of the game.
He's been having those problems lately.
Mm-hmm.
He has been having those problems lately. In a couple of games, he's been out there, and it's 48-42 with 6:19 remaining in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Make it 48-44.
48-44 with 6 minutes left in the second quarter. But again, you have an all-star team, and you have the Knicks, which have an up-and-coming team.
Mm-hmm.
At least they're playing well so far. I mean, they're playing 500 ball. They've actually got good ball players, including Frank Nikita, who you're always down on for some strange reason. Yay, once in a while he can't.
I'm down on him because his offensive ability sucks.
That's true. That's true. I can't argue with that. But when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. But his defensive paralysis is fantastic.
Seriously, he needs to develop a jumper somehow because he can only last so far in the league by just being a one-dimensional player.
Well, that's not true because how many players were defensive specialists back then? There were a lot of players that were just defensive specialists. Now, I don't know if that still exists anymore because all we want is to see a game that's 100 and I'm telling you, it's going to be a game where the damn score is going to be 210 to 201 or 209.
I can see it.
That's not a game I want to see. I want to see defense at least. Not like the stupid All-Star game. Jesus.
Yeah, but scoring points is where the TV ratings are.
Playing a good game is where the TV ratings are. Playing a damn good game. Defensive, offensively, if you got two teams that are fantastic, you're not expecting them to score 200 points. You're expecting them to play a good, hard-fought game. Now, if you have a team such as Detroit Pistons, who are not doing very well, you're expecting a blowout. Whoever is playing against them to blow them out. That doesn't happen. I mean, it happens more times than others, but I mean, I can't see them. I can tell, what does Frazier say? Matador defense?
Yeah.
I'd rather see I'd rather see D than Swiss cheese. Because a good game makes a really damn good game. And how are the Rangers, Islanders, and Devils doing?
Well, the Islanders continue to play well, but the Rangers have resorted to slumping really, really badly. They now have a 17-20 record. 17-15-5 if you want to go that far.
The Rangers?
Yeah.
How about the Devils?
Let's see. They last lost to the Sabres 3-2 in a shootout. Lost to a team that's the worst team in the league, which is inexcusable. As far as the Islanders are concerned, the Islanders are tied for the Eastern Division lead with a 24-10-4 record. It would be outstanding if the Islanders could win the Eastern Division and get themselves a high seed, because that would mean home ice advantage for at least one round of the playoffs. As far as the Devils are concerned, 13-17-6. They've had their problems this season. And now the Devils are going to be playing Buffalo. Let's see if the Devils can actually pull off a game here.
Do you expect all teams that are in second to last place or last place to have records to lose all the games?
Probably.
I don't expect it. I think they should win a couple of games because you can't lose all the time unless you're in football. You know, unless you're in football, that's the only time you can lose every game.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to hockey, because it's longer than football, when it comes to baseball, which is longer than football, you got all these other teams that are longer than football.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to, you're going to have bad records, but nobody's going to go undefeated. With the biggest losing streak in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But at least, do you see the Island? You can see the Islanders making the playoffs because they're in first place right now.
Right.
Well, they're tied for first. But can you see the Devils and the Rangers making a surgence back to making the playoffs?
The Rangers, maybe. Because they're only 4 points out of that last playoff spot. The Devils, they're a country mile away, so I wouldn't see them doing anything.
Are they going to start rebuilding soon, you think?
I think the rebuilding process is already going on.
Okay. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good thing. If they go in the right direction, like everyone else is, so far so good. You know who I'm surprised, again, that hasn't been traded in basketball?
Who's
Kevin
that?
Love.
Kevin Love, yeah. I think teams are starting to shy away from Kevin Love a little bit, mostly because of his bloated contract.
Oh, he's got contract problems too.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you know that WrestleMania is back and it's back for 2 days?
Yep, WrestleMania 37, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and you know where they got the 2-day program, right? Because before WrestleMania, it used to be a one-day thing.
Yeah.
They got that from New Japan.
Yeah.
Because their version of WrestleMania lasts 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, and, they signed with Peacock.
That's right.
The WWE signed with Peacock. And they're editing a lot of stuff over there.
I see.
Remember the Roddy Piper? He paints himself half black and his white.
Yeah.
They edited that out. And they added some of the so-called racial things that they said or did at the time.
I see. Well, we got 30 seconds. I just want to close by saying that tonight's national championship game features Baylor and Gonzaga. Baylor won over the weekend against Houston, and Gonzaga won this great game against UCLA to set up tonight's championship.
The Cinderella team.
Not really a Cinderella in this one because there's 2 number 1 seeds. Anyway,
but they've been Cinderella teams for a while. But
well, for everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
Good night.
Nighty-night.